What's up guys, TechLab here. Now in today's video we're going to be taking you through a system that I've been building. Right now is probably the worst and best time to actually be building a gaming PC. For those of you that build new, prices are quite expensive and there are new generations coming out, so you're never really sure what to actually pick up. But for those of you that build second hand and don't mind a slightly older PC, you can actually get some real good bargains. You could build a system just like this. This isn't the cheapest system and it also isn't the fastest, but it looks great, it is upgradable, it's inexpensive, and the best thing yet, it will play any game out on the market. For the system that I've actually put together today, like I say, isn't the cheapest and it's also not the most expensive. It also isn't the most fastest PC out there, but it will actually be quite capable when it comes to new titles. There are a lot of different things you can do when building a gaming PC. You can save money in certain areas and you can spend more in other areas, but I think this is a nice all-round PC. The three things that you probably want to customize when you build a system like this, because it's all down to personal preference, is of course the case, the cooler and the power supply. I have gone for a full NZXT setup here, and they are using older generation parts, so they are reasonably cheap on the pre-owned market. For the case, we've got the original version of the NZXT H5 Flow. That is the reasonably decent case, and it's the one with a fancy little fan at the bottom that blows cool air onto your graphics card. For the cooler, we have a 240mm all-in-one, again from NZXT, and it is the X53. You can pick them up pretty cheap on eBay now, but again, coolers, you can pretty much go for whatever you want. You can save a little bit of money on these by getting a budget case and getting a budget air cooler, but I actually like to make brands match and things because I think it just gives it that nice premium look. And the beauty of PC gaming is that we can all pretty much build whatever we want. The power supply in this unit is also an NZXT. It is a 650 watt gold modular power supply. Again, it is an older version, so you can pick them up reasonably cheap nowadays, and they're pretty good power supplies. They're going to get you going and they're going to pretty much support a lot of other things going forward. But that's the kind of case, cooler and power supply that I have chosen. You don't have to pick them, you can pick anything that you want, and like I say, it all comes down to personal preference. But inside here, when we start talking about performance parts, we've got some pretty decent things. For the platform, we are using AM4. It's probably one of the best platforms out there for budget gamers or people that like to buy used, because you've got so many different options of CPUs that you can use. It's actually lasted the test of time on as platforms go, because you can install a very cheap £20 Ryzen processor all the way up to a £300, because they still are that kind of price, of 5800 X3D. It is an Asus ROG Strix B450F, kind of in the middle ground really. They were not that expensive when they first came out, and they're not expensive now. You can pick them up pretty cheap, but they do look nice boards and they've got plenty of features. Most people will want to opt for a B550 nowadays, but a board like this is actually reasonably cheap. The B550s hold their price a little bit more because people want them, and this one's just going to give us everything that we need, particularly in terms of that upgrade path. Sitting inside this motherboard, we also have a Ryzen 7 processor. It is the Ryzen 7 3800X. I actually love this processor. I had one in my own gaming PC, and not only will you get some decent gaming performance from it, you will get some really decent performance when it comes to productivity tasks. It runs a little bit warmer than the 3700X, which you can get for about the same price. So if you are worried about temperatures or power consumption, it's probably better to get the 3700X, but I like the 3800X because that extra little performance it gives you is really going to help when it comes to gaming. The Ryzen 7 3800X is a Zen 2 processor, and it comes with 8 cores and 16 threads, more than enough for gaming and more than enough for productivity, like I say. And pairing with that, we have 16GB of DDR4. Now, DDR4 RAM is super cheap at the moment. You can pick it up from anywhere. I would advise probably going for 32GB because of the price and how cheap it is, but 16GB is more than enough for gaming, particularly with the rest of the specifications. So it's not going to be the bottleneck at all. So you can get away with saving a little bit just going for 16GB. And of course, the motherboard comes with 4 slots, so we can easily upgrade the memory later on. It's really cheap and very vast. You can pretty much pick it up from anywhere, and you can pretty much pick up the exact same kit again and just double up your RAM very easily in the future. When it comes to storage, we are using a very simple 500GB Gen 3 NVMe drive. It's nothing fancy, it's just a crucial P3 drive, but it's more than enough for our operating system and a bunch of games. We can always upgrade the storage very cheaply, whether we want to install a drive into the secondary NVMe slot, because this motherboard does come with 2, or if we want to just plug in a great mass storage onto a SATA port, we can do that because we've got 4 of them. So storage is not the end all when it comes to building a gaming PC, because you don't need things that are super fast to be able to play the games. And you can get mass storage nowadays on older generations like SATA SSDs or even hard drives pretty cheap, and they'll just simply plug and play. So that is really easy to upgrade later on, just like the RAM is. It's not really a worry when you come to building a gaming PC, particularly if you're on a budget. So these are the kind of things you should probably be looking for. And then of course we have the heart of any gaming PC, the graphics card. The graphics card that we've got in this system at the moment is the RX 6700 XT. That is a 12GB graphics card from Radeon's 6000 series. Still more than capable nowadays. They were actually released as 1440p cards, and they pretty much will do that on most games. The specific model that we've got today is the Asus ROG Strix RX 6700 XT. It is a very large graphics card, but it is very nice looking, and it goes with our motherboard. They kind of go really well together. You do get a little bit of GPU sag with a graphics card this big. Not all 6700 XTs are this big. This one seems to be oversized more than anything, and it just requires two 8-pin connections, which this power supply will provide, and most others do too. We've actually got two separate links going into this graphics card to make sure that we've got some nice power going to the unit. Definitely worth doing that if you're going to build it, but you can pigtail if you want. These graphics cards don't use that much power, but they do perform exceptionally well. This one does come with an RGB strip across the front here, and the RAM is RGB, the fans are RGB, the motherboard's got RGB, so you can get a nice little RGB system going. I like to set them into one colour, but for today we've got a bit of rainbow going on, so you can kind of see the effects that you get. Overall, this machine is a great looking machine, and it's using some exceptionally good quality parts. It looks very premium because we've matched up some of the brands, the ROG Strix to ROG Strix, the NZXT to NZXT, and that's the kind of stuff I like to do, and it's one of the benefits of PC gaming, because you can pretty much build whatever you want, however you want it, as long as it performs the way that you want it. Building a system like this wouldn't actually cost you that much nowadays, particularly if you are on the used market, because a lot of this stuff is the older versions and you can pick it up on eBay auctions and things like that pretty cheap. Overall, it would cost you around £600. Now I've got that price from average selling prices on eBay, so that's definitely something that you can actually do. You can, like I say, make a saving when it comes to the case and the cooler and the power supply and stuff like that, but generally you don't really need to actually do that kind of stuff because this system is going to perform exceptionally well. Like I said at the beginning, not only will the system play your favorite games, it will actually play any game out there on the market, and it will play them really well. So let's take the system over to our benching desk and see what that actually looks like. Now, one of the best ways of showing you how capable this machine is of course testing it against one of the most demanding and one of the best looking games that has been released in a long time. That game is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It wasn't released that long ago, but it does require some pretty beefy hardware to get running. You have to have a hardware ray tracing graphics card, otherwise it simply won't start, and you need more than 6GB of VRAM. The minimum is 8GB. So, of course, the RX 6700 XT has more than enough to be able to meet those requirements. It does have hardware ray tracing, and it does have 12GB of VRAM, so it shouldn't have a problem starting the game. But what kind of performance are we actually going to get? As long as we can get a 1080p 60fps experience, I think it's a win for the system. So let's head into game and take a look. Now we are in game at the moment, and everything is looking absolutely beautiful. We're currently getting an average of 65 frames per second with a 1% low of 58, 57. That means that the game is more than smooth and playable, and it's actually meeting our target at the moment, but I'm not 100% sure what we've got configured. So let's head over to the options and see what settings are set. We're currently running in full screen with a 1440p resolution, which is actually quite amazing, to be honest. I thought this was 1080p based on that performance in the corner, and we'd have to do some tweaking to get it to work in a higher resolution, but 1440p, we seem to be hitting 60 FPS at the moment. We just head down through the settings a little bit. We've got vertical sync disabled at the moment, but we have got a few cool features that are turned off. I say cool, I don't really like them, but some people do. I don't like them at all. We've disabled motion blur, don't like that. Chromatic abbreviation, don't like that. And we've also turned off film grain. For some reason, film grain makes games look worse. I don't know why anybody would want to play with film grain. It's like you're just putting a haze across the screen instead of having things super clear. So if you do like film grain, that's on you, but I really don't like it. Heading down to the actual graphics quality here, we are currently running in an overall graphics quality of high, which is again super great because we're getting some decent performance at the moment. And then going to our advanced settings here, we've got a vegetation animation quality of ultra. We probably don't need that on Ultra, but we aren't using any kind of resolution scaling at all. Everything is native, so let's head back into game and see the performance that we get. Now that we're back in game, we'll reset some stats there. We are currently getting an average of around 68, 67. It's just dropped now to 65 frames per second with a 1% low of 54. That means that the game is more than playable. It's very, very smooth, and it looks absolutely stunning too. We are out in the open at the moment when in Egypt, so if anybody has played this game before, you'll know exactly where we are. If not, you will go to different areas of the game, and each area will perform slightly different. This is a very wide open area that's very light, so if it's going to actually have some kind of struggles here, we're definitely going to see it with this level. But so far, everything is working perfectly fine. We've had a few little dips down to 53 frames per second on our continuous, but our average is still working out to be around 62 frames per second with a 1% low of 49. This is, like I say, outside. Most of the game will be played inside of tombs and things that you're exploring, so hopefully the performance increases once you go into those areas. We'll try to find one now, but we'll run through this little bit of a town or these little huts here. It appears that somebody actually spotted who it was. We are dressed in an outfit to try and disguise, but captains of the opposition, the Nazis basically, can actually suss you out. So they're chasing me at the moment, but we're going to head over to the Sphinx and we're going to see what happens once we get inside a bit of a tomb. We're going to have to jump down a few levels and run completely around it. So far, everything still is running beautifully fine. We've currently got an average of 61 frames per second with a 1% low of 47. Our 0.1% low is hanging at around 40 frames per second, so that's perfectly fine. We're going to get some decent smooth performance there. And so far, like I say, the game is playing, and it's actually quite amazing to see what you can actually get running on a £600 system. This PC is cheaper than a PlayStation 5 Pro, and we are playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle in 1440p with a high preset, and it is completely playable. We are just coming down to the tomb at the moment, so we'll head on in and see what happens to the performance while we're inside. Things get a little bit darker when you go inside, of course, but there are some lighting effects going around, and because ray tracing is running, you're going to get some decent kind of effects really. But we're working our way through at the moment, and our performance is maintaining itself. It's actually gone up a little bit on the continuous now to around 76, 74. Everything is completely dark. I can't see where I'm going now. We do need a torch of some description, but we'll go ahead this way, see if it's a little bit more lighter. Going into the tomb now, we've got an average of 62 still with a 1% low of 48. The graphics card's running at around 98% utilization, which means our CPU is perfectly fine keeping up with it. And the CPU is running at around 60%, so you could go for a little bit of a better CPU if you wanted. But what this is actually showing us is that it's actually more than capable and a nice, very well balanced system. But this is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle running on a £600 system. Like I say, it's cheaper than a PlayStation 5 Pro, and you're playing the latest game. If it can play this game, of course, it can pretty much play every game out there on the market. So let's take a look at some others. So as you can see from the benchmarks, this system is pretty capable. It will play any game out there on the market. Most of them will actually play perfectly fine in 1440p, and you will most definitely get a minimum of a 60 FPS experience. There was only a couple of games on that list that the system kind of, I'd say, struggled with a little bit. The performance wasn't where I really wanted it to be, and we had to rely on some of the AMD tool sets. That's perfectly fine because the system supports it all and they expect you to use it nowadays, so why wouldn't you? The first game that struggled was Space Marine 2. We could still actually run the game in 1440p with a high preset, but we did need to enable FSR 3 with a native resolution, so it wasn't actually upscaling, but we did then enable frame generation. That meant that the system could suddenly reach 66 frames per second on average with a 1% low of 47. It was actually very smooth. We were playing it at that kind of performance, and even though we were using frame generation, the frame timing and everything was perfectly fine. It is a single player game and it's not that fast paced, to be honest, because the character moves very, very slow. The second game was Stalker 2. Now this game is super demanding and it really showed on this system. We had to run the game in 1080p, but we could enable a high preset. And running it, we did need to enable FSR 3.1, again with a native resolution, so we didn't need to upscale, but we did need to enable frame generation. That allowed us to run the game at 82 frames per second on average with a 1% low of 64. It didn't look, in my opinion, the best that it can do, but it was more than playable and it was more than smooth. So if you are people that want to play those type of games and you don't have much of a budget, this is definitely a system that you should take a look at. I think that this system is absolutely fantastic and it is more than enough for most people out there, cheaper than the PlayStation 5 Pro. You can build it very easily and you can also make quite a bit of saving by swapping out things like the case and the cooler, go for cheaper options, spend a little bit more on the CPU, go for a 5000 series, maybe the 5700X, or if you can stretch it, 5700X3D. They're about 200 to 250 pounds, but they would make all the world of difference. But then again, this platform does allow you to upgrade in the future. You could definitely upgrade the RAM in this, go for 32 gigabytes, add loads more storage in, upgrade that CPU, and you'll get even more performance out of it. I absolutely love this system, but I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below. Do you like this system? Do you have one very similar? What kind of games are you playing, and what kind of performance do you feel that you should be able to get out of a system like this? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, and I'm sure as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.